Hello, and welcome back to Kim's Cozy Corner. If you're new here, thanks for stopping by. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Kim, and I am working on preserving my food. I've been harvesting my food now for a few months, and I have done very little in getting my harvest into the way I want it to be in to last me for a year or more. So I've been dehydrating, I've been doing all kinds of freezing and doing all kinds of other stuff, but I haven't gotten it to its final stage. And we're going to work on that today. This particular video, I am going to focus on herbs. And so I have been dehydrating herbs in my dehydrator now for a couple of months. And I need to get my herbs to the final format, which will be in my mason jars. So I am going to show you my whole process today because I'm going to get my dehydrator up and running because I need to have it going pretty much all the time because there's so many herbs out there. And then after I get that going, we will work on getting these ground up with my Vitamix down to the size that I really want it in. So let's first start with the washing of the herbs that I just picked. So I have been outside harvesting all day, and I picked a few different types of herbs that I'm going to get washed up and in the dehydrator. So I have basil, which I already have in water, starting to rinse it off. I have marjoram, thyme, and sage. And so I'm going to bring you in close. We're going to get it washed up and into the dehydrator. If you've never had fresh herbs from the garden in your kitchen, I'm telling you, you don't know. Wow, I mean, you are really missing a treat to the senses. So this is all marjoram right here going into the container. And we will work on the thyme and the rosemary next. I like to keep 2 sinks going. I like to give my herbs a good rinsing. I think it's important to give them a good wash before you start dehydrating. And I have some dried places in there too. Just look over the mess over here. Pay no mind to this mess over here because these are other things that we are going to preserve today. And there's all kinds of stuff over there. I even have some peppers right here that we're going to cut up and get and freeze. There's green beans. There are tomatoes. We got a lot going on. But let's start here with the marjoram. Now, the leaves on marjoram are very, very small. It's just like the leaves on oregano for me. It's the way I think about it. If you look at how small they are. So I dehydrate them just like this. And then once they're dry, I'll pull them off of the stem. And I don't have to worry about trying to pick leaves off the stem. Over here, the basil's doing pretty well. And I cannot dehydrate enough basil. There's nothing I can do that's going to be enough when it comes to basil. I think my daughter uses basil like she would salt or pepper. So the basil's already been washed a couple of times. So let's get that out first. Basil, I can't do the same way I would my oregano, thyme, rosemary. I can't do basil that way. The leaves are large enough that there's no reason to do basil that way. And I guess it depends on what type of basil you have. But I have Italian Genovese basil is what I grow. There are many different kinds of basil. I just grow the basics. Okay, I don't have many basil leaves today. I went and got these from my neighbor's out of his GreenStalk. Oh, this basil smells good. Do you like the smell of basil, Mom? No, not really. You like to eat basil in your food, though? Yes. Okay. It's just too strong of a smell for you? Okay. So I have it all out in a single layer here. And from here, I'm going to move this into the dehydrator. Now, I've talked about my dehydrator before. I have an Excalibur food dehydrator. It has 9 trays, so you can dehydrate 9 trays at one time. And I normally don't do 9, just to be honest with you. I usually do probably at most 5 or 6. And I stick them in here. I put the door on. It says, the drying guide says for herbs, I'm supposed to set them on 105 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 41 degrees Celsius. I turn it on to that point and I let it go until it dries. And so I'm going to do that exact same process for the rest of the herbs that I just picked, and then I will be back. Now that I have all of the fresh herbs going in my dehydrator, I am ready to do something with the herbs that I've already been collecting for a few months now. So we will start with the basil. And I'm just going to try to ground it up just a little bit to put it into the same size pieces that you would typically see from your typical herbs that you buy in the grocery store. So I like to use my Vitamix and I will reuse that bag. So as I dry, I can keep filling it up in the bag until I get enough that I'm ready to do this step. Just put the top on. And I'm going to be honest with you, I am not going to wash this out in between each and every one. That ain't going to happen. So I got the basil in here and I got it plugged up. Let's turn it on. And I think I'm going to start by just pulsing it just a little bit because I don't want it too fine. There we go. And 1 or 2 more times, I think we're there. And there's the basil. Remember, it was a full container. Now I got just a teeny bit in the bottom. And where's my basil? Oh, went down my throat. Don't laugh at me. All right, so here's my container with the basil in it. And I just have a funnel. And I'm just going to pour it in. Just see how fine it is, which is not really fine enough. I'm going to go just a couple more pulses. I want to try to get it to the same consistency of what I already have in my container. One more. Okay. This time, I'm going to let the dust settle. And then I'm just going to pour it right in my container. So I've just added to my overall basil. Now, I probably really should start another jar so I can FIFO, first in, first out, for those in the manufacturing business like I am. But it doesn't stay around long enough to matter in my house. So I'm giving it a good mix because some of the pieces are finer than others. So mix it up real good. So my daughter can come and just take it all because that's what she does. She takes all my basil. Anyway, what we're going to do next, let's see here. Rosemary. I honestly don't have enough to even put in the container. I only got a few sprigs of rosemary. I didn't realize I hadn't done any. There's plenty of it out there. So all we're going to do with the rosemary is destem it. That's it. And I believe when you get this in the grocery store, sometimes they take the stems and they ground those up as well. But I'm not using the stems. I'm only using the leaves. And that's it for the rosemary for this batch. And it looks like I was completely out of rosemary. So my container was empty. And so now I just have rosemary leaves in this container. Sage. We'll do the same thing, but the sage has larger leaves, kind of like the basil. And so I am actually going to ground them up. I just don't know if I have enough to really do that, but we're going to try. I left some pretty big stems on there that I'm trying to get off. And that's it for the sage. And I'm going to do this process for everything. I have some parsley. And I'll have to add 2 containers because I have 2 newcomers to the herb party. And that's celery and marjoram. So this is the first year that I've grown both of those. This is parsley. There's the parsley. I should have been showing you. I'm sorry. Didn't show you, but there's the parsley. And if you try to dry your herbs too fast in the dehydrator, it will turn your herbs like a brownish color versus a dark green. So like take your time. Don't try to rush it. Let it dehydrate at 105 degrees Fahrenheit or 41 degrees Celsius so it can maintain the taste as well as the color. It's going to darken a little bit, but it'll turn a dark brown if you try to do it too fast, and it won't maintain the flavor. It'll change the flavor slightly. What's next? We will do oregano next. And before I get too far ahead of myself, if you remember, if it has small leaves, then I left it on the stem, and after it dries, I just peel it right off. Scrape it right off the stem. And I'm doing it right in the container. And I probably should clean out the Vitamix in between, but I'm not doing that step. I mix all my herbs up together anyway, so what if there's a little bit of sage in my oregano? It's all good. It's all going to the same place in the end. And since I'm using the Vitamix, I can actually leave some of the really thin stems because it'll just grind those right up and you'll never know that they were there. There's the oregano. It's going to be hard to see. Here's the oregano. So now I have celery and marjoram. Let's do the celery leaves first. Now for celery, I just don't know about this, but I'm thinking about trying to make celery salt because I have a lot. Did I say a lot? I have a whole lot of celery, a lot of celery. And I don't want to waste any of that celery. And I mean, I cook with celery. I've already put the stalks in the freezer, and I used my vacuum sealer to protect those for later usage. I got dust everywhere. All right, so this is celery. Uh-oh, it's too thick. That's what I get for trying to rush it. And I did pack it in. Oh my goodness, it's in there tight. If this amount will work. And this is very, very fine. But I have a lot more to do. I'll tell you what, I'll just leave this in the bag for next time so I don't have to go get another jar. And now my marjoram. And I actually don't have enough marjoram to do either, so we'll wait for next time on the marjoram. So there you have it. I've dehydrated all of the herbs from my garden. So I definitely have a year's supply of basil and sage and celery and oregano and parsley and rosemary. So I don't have to buy it at the store anymore. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, and I will keep these videos coming. And right now I'm focusing on preserving videos. So if you want to see those, come back here real soon. Thank you. And until next time, bye.